Thank you for joining us again today for a Wisdom and Whiskey Wednesday. Will Herring with All Western Mortgage, Cory Williams from eXp Realty, and Living the Dream team. We're living the dream.
That's right.
You should too. Thanks again for joining us today. Pending. That's the word of the day, pending. What does pending even mean? We've got clients out here that are looking at Zillow, and they see the word pending. They might have been looking at a house and it says active or for sale, and it's green, and now it's pending. What does that mean?
So pending, that's a good question. You know, every time a piece of property is available, a real estate professional can tell you whether it's for sale or it's under contract or it's sold or it's not on the market. There's really only 4 classifications.
Yes.
And under contract is pending. What they mean is pending any problems that may arise for those people to buy the home, right?
Yes. It might be called in escrow. It depends on the state that you're in. But here in Colorado, we call it under contract. The reason we use the word pending is because we know you're looking at Zillow, okay? And you need to stop, okay? We have the MLS. We're here to help you. We have RE Colorado, all the professional tools that we'd love to share with you, but pending. So that means that there was a home on the market, it was active, and they made an agreement. The seller and the buyer, or buyers or sellers, the seller and the buyer made an agreement together. They agreed on price and terms.
Right.
And now it's under contract.
Well, I have a very wise friend that often says a real estate transaction is a series of problems that need to be solved.
Yes.
So the pending word is perfect here because pending all the problems that need to be solved, these people, party A, will buy the house from the seller, party B.
Oh my goodness, and do we know of all of the hoops and the hurdles
That's right.
that you encounter. So it's really important that you find the right team, that lender, real estate professional team that's willing to lock arms and really push for you and make sure that you're protected along the way.
Right. There's a part of the contract that actually protects the buyers in a buying situation, and there's other parts of the contract that protect the sellers.
Yes.
If you're a seller.
Most of our listeners are here in Colorado. If you're here in Colorado, you should know that the Division of Real Estate wrote all of the contracts. Every single form was approved by the Division of Real Estate, and if it wasn't, it's not being used, and it shouldn't be used. But they wrote in all of these protections, and then all we do is fill in the blank. Now, you and I, we have this concept of providing a tremendous amount of value before we get under contract. In fact, we talked about that in a previous episode where we talked about, hey, you know, we want to educate you early and often, sometimes as much as 5 years before you purchase a home.
In an extreme example, absolutely.
Right? And so here in Colorado, the contract to buy and sell is written to heavily favor the buyer. So that's the good news. Buyers can actually get out of the contract at several different points throughout the course of that pending, under contract, in escrow state. But it's certainly where everybody kicks in and starts, all 12 people, on average it takes, there's 12 people involved in a real estate transaction. All 12 people are getting to work the day that it goes under contract or pending.
Right, and so the seller is protected, the buyer is protected, but in Colorado, the buyer has actually more options and is more protected than the seller.
Yes.
So what does that mean then if they get under contract, if they pull the trigger, if you will, on a specific house and make an agreement with the seller? How is the buyer protected here?
Well, first of all, thank you for asking. They're protected. The first thing that we know is that everybody knows happens during the course of a real estate transaction is the inspection. Okay, so they're protected at the inspection. In other words, if they ask for things to be done that they're concerned about in the home, and they say, hey, seller, you've got to do this or we're out, right? Then that's number one.
So during a phase that the buyer's allowed to look at the property with a professional real estate inspector, and they find a problem with that, you can negotiate something with the seller or you can get them out of the contract, right?
That's right. So if they're not happy with the negotiations and they say the seller didn't do enough for us, then they can get out of the contract and keep their earnest money, the deposit that they put down.
Okay.
And we can talk earnest money in a different episode, or just pick up the phone and give us a call. We'll explain it all. But suffice it to say that their deposit is protected at inspection. The next point where their deposit is protected is at appraisal. So
the value of the home.
That's correct. And this is where the lending professional comes in, because you have appraisal management companies, in other words, approved appraisers that come in.
Correct.
How does that process work?
So we order an appraisal from a company by which they have 10, 18 different appraisers. We're not allowed to know who the appraiser is going to be. It's supposed to be an independent assessment of the value of the property. Looking at all the matrices. Is it a 2-bedroom? Is it a 3-bedroom? Is it a 5-bedroom? Is it 2-story? Is it a ranch style? Does it have a walkout basement? Everything comes into consideration. If one house on the block had 2 fireplaces, that second fireplace will be considered compared to the one with 1 fireplace. Every single thing has a line item that's looked at very carefully for the value of the home. The lender requires an appraisal because we don't want you to buy a house for more than it's worth if possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So then if that appraiser goes in there and they say, hey, I'm sorry, we just can't get the value here. We can't appraise this home at the purchase price agreed upon when they went under contract with the buyer and seller, and the seller's not willing to drop the price, or we figure out a solution to the pricing, then the buyer can get out of the contract and get their earnest money 100%.
They get their deposit back again. Now they get their deposit back again. You're protecting the buyer.
Absolutely.
And of course, we don't want buyers to buy homes that are way under value. So that's a smart move and something that you want to make sure you have a professional guiding you.
Yeah. The third way that the contract to buy and sell here in Colorado protects the buyer is for property insurance. They want to make sure, and of course the lender wants to make sure, that you can get proper protection on the home. And so if you're unable to get affordable, proper protection on your home, again, the buyer can get out and keep their earnest money.
I have an example of that. I have a neighbor that has a wooden shake roof. A shake roof is hard to get insurance on. A lot of insurance companies don't want to touch a shake roof. Anymore, Colorado, it's so hard to find a wood shake shingle roof that it's an albatross, actually. Our neighbors love their roof. It looks great on the house, but it's hard to get insurance for. So in his case, he's got to do a lot of shopping around.
Yep, absolutely. And then the fourth way that buyers are protected in the under contract, pending, escrow phase, the contract period, is of course for the loan.
The loan.
Provided that they are financing the home. Most of my clients are financing a home. And so provided they're doing that, then there's some protections in there. So a couple different points, we can talk about those in details. Give us a call and we can chat through that. But suffice it to say simply that if you're unable to procure a loan with fair terms and affordable monthly payment, then you're able to get out of the contract and keep your earnest money.
So the deposit is refunded 100% if you can't get a loan. If you're not paying cash for the property, you need a lender, and hire a professional, somebody that you know and trust, and make sure that they guide you properly. And if they did their homework up front, they should be able to get you that loan. If not, if they can't get you the loan for any reason, the day before you move in, you lost your job, there's a possibility that you could still get your earnest deposit back. Maybe not the day before, but at some point you can get your earnest deposit back on that home because the buyer is protected.
Yeah. So suffice it to say that the under contract period, the escrow period, the pending period, it's a lot of series of problems that we have to solve. But there's protections included in there, so you need to find the right team that understands that contract, understands the protections, and understands how to leverage all of that verbiage and the protections that were put in place by the Division of Real Estate to primarily protect buyers in this market.
That's right.
So
if you want to hire a pro, find Cory Williams with the Living the Dream team.
Yeah, so what we pride ourselves on is our relationship, our partnership, to really lock arms with our clients, hold their hands through the tall weeds sometimes, to get to the finish line together. Thanks again for joining us today. I'm glad that we could explain to you that period and that time, usually about 30 days from when they say, we picked your offer, to when we get to hand you the keys at the closing table.
That's the best ever.
Absolutely. So, Will, thanks again.
Thanks,
as
Cory.
Always, happy Wisdom and Whiskey Wednesday. Bringing it to you here from Denver, Colorado. Thanks for joining us. So long for now.